What if I told you that the sudden, intense joint pain you might be feeling in your 40s or 50s has absolutely nothing to do with, just getting old?
Right. It's a huge misconception.
Yeah, and actually it has everything to do with a sudden drop in a hormone that, well, you probably thought was only for reproduction.
Hmm.
You know that jarring reality where, like, one day you're leaping out of bed, totally ready to tackle the world, and then literally the next day, every single joint and muscle in your body seems to ache?
It is incredibly disorienting.
It really is. You wake up feeling like you somehow aged 10 years overnight.
Yeah. And unfortunately for many people, the immediate assumption is just that their body is finally breaking down. They think the miles are just catching up to them.
No, it isn't just chronological aging, right? And it certainly isn't all in your head. So today, we're exploring a condition that is finally getting the recognition it deserves in the medical community.
Long overdue, really.
Exactly. It's called musculoskeletal syndrome of menopause. And this is a massive biological shift that affects up to 70% of women during the perimenopause and menopause transition.
Which is just a staggering number when you think about it.
70%.
I mean, when you realize that nearly three-quarters of women going through this transition will face these specific physical hurdles, you start to understand that this isn't some anomaly. It is a fundamental part of the physiological change.
Absolutely. So, to really get to the bottom of this, we spent the week digging through a massive stack of medical guidelines. We looked at clinical notes from physical therapy experts like the team at TrueMove in Overland Park, alongside these high-level reports from Harvard Health, Mass General Brigham, and a really major scientific impact paper from the Royal College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists.
Some really heavy hitters in there.
Yeah, lots of data. And our specific mission for this deep dive is to answer one vital question for you. Are there specific anti-inflammatory diets that actually help ease menopausal joint and muscle pain?
That really is the core question, isn't it? Because while hormones are the undeniable root cause of this pain, nutrition is, it's one of the most powerful immediate levers you can pull.
Right.
You can't necessarily stop the hormonal shift, obviously,
Yeah.
but you can absolutely use food to turn the volume down on the resulting inflammation.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because before we can use food to fix the pain, we really need to understand exactly why the pain is happening in the first place.
Exactly. We have to look at the root cause.
Right. We have to move from the symptom you feel in the morning to the actual biological mechanism driving it.
And to do that, we have to talk about estrogen.
Which is wild to me.
I know. Most of us are taught from a very young age that estrogen is strictly a reproductive hormone, responsible for the menstrual cycle in pregnancy.
Right. That's what we all learn in health class.
Yeah, but it is actually a powerful, systemic, natural anti-inflammatory. If you were to look at your joints, your tendons, your ligaments, and your cartilage under a microscope, you would see that they are absolutely covered in estrogen receptors.
Covered in them.
Completely covered.
So the tissue itself is structurally designed to require estrogen to function properly.
Precisely. Estrogen helps keep your cartilage hydrated. It literally protects against the breakdown of that cartilage, and it's crucial for maintaining bone and muscle mass around the joints.
Yeah.
I mean, it is a built-in protective shield.
Wow. When I was looking through the clinical notes, I kept picturing it like this. Tell me if this makes sense.
Go for it.
Estrogen is essentially the shock absorbers on your car.
Oh, I like that.
Right.
Yeah.
Like when you have high, steady estrogen levels, you are gliding over the bumps in the road. It's a smooth ride. You can go for a run, you can garden or lift weights, and the shock absorbers just take the impact. But when estrogen starts fluctuating wildly and then drops permanently during perimenopause, it's like those shock absorbers just wear out, and suddenly you feel every single pebble in the road.
That is a brilliant way to visualize it, honestly. Because without that shock absorption, your body is subjected to a cumulative stack of what physical therapists call microflares.
Microflares.
Yeah. The impact hasn't changed. A 2-mile walk, still a 2-mile walk. But a walk that, used to feel great suddenly leaves your knees aching for days because the tissue is absorbing the full force without that estrogen buffer.
And the data backs this up perfectly. When researchers actually controlled the data, they found that postmenopausal women are more than twice as likely to wake up with stiff, aching joints compared to premenopausal women.
Right. An odds ratio of 2.28, I believe.
Exactly. We aren't just talking about a slight correlation here. It is a massive, measurable biological shift.
And the really critical part of that statistic is that it holds true even when adjusting for age.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, it is the loss of that estrogen shock absorber driving the pain, not just the fact that more time has passed.
Right. So because the body's internal shock absorbers are wearing out, we have to look at what we put into the body to build an external shield.
Exactly.
We need a new way to protect the cartilage. And the gold standards that emerge across all the medical literature for this are the Mediterranean and DLSH diets.
Yeah, we are looking for ways to actively manage the systemic environment those joints are living in.
Right, and these aren't just like temporary weight loss fads.
No, not at all. They are plant-based, whole food frameworks that are scientifically proven to reduce widespread inflammation.
Okay, wait, I have to challenge this a bit.
Okay, let's hear it.
Because we've all heard a million times that we should eat more vegetables, eat less processed meat, use olive oil. I mean, it is the most common nutritional advice on the planet.
Sure, it's everywhere.
Right. So is this just standard, generic, healthy eating, or is there something highly specific about this dietary framework that directly targets menopause?
What's fascinating here is how this specific diet interacts with the unique metabolic changes of menopause.
Okay.
Because during this transition, your insulin sensitivity fundamentally changes. You become much more prone to insulin spikes, and your body actively begins to store what is known as visceral fat.
And that's that deep internal abdominal fat.
Yes, exactly. This is the fat that surrounds your organs, rather than the fat just under your skin. And visceral fat isn't just an inert storage unit for extra calories.
It's doing something.
It is biologically active. It functions almost like a toxic endocrine organ.
Wow.
Yeah, visceral fat actively pumps out these tiny chemical messengers called cytokines. And you can think of cytokines as little distress signals floating through your bloodstream.
Oh, and when they hit the joints.
Exactly. When they reach your joints, they trigger swelling, stiffness, and pain. The Mediterranean diet specifically addresses this by stabilizing your blood sugar, which stops the hormonal signals that tell the body to create that dangerous visceral fat in the first place.
Okay, so it's not just about losing weight to hit a certain number on the scale.
No.
It's about altering the chemical environment of your body so it stops manufacturing those inflammatory distress signals.
Precisely. Though, the physical weight itself does matter for the joints mechanically, too.
It does. The biomechanics are pretty straightforward, but really profound. I read that for every 1 pound of physical weight you lose, you reduce the mechanical load on your knee joint by 4 pounds.
It's amazing math, isn't it?
It's incredible. 1 pound off the scale equals 4 pounds of pressure off the knee. So if you lose 5 pounds, that's 20 pounds of pressure. You aren't forcing your knees to carry up the stairs every single day.
Exactly.
So how do we actually put this into practice without feeling completely overwhelmed? Because the physical therapists at TrueMove highlight a clinical strategy that I thought was incredibly practical.
The anchor meal.
Yes. They call it making breakfast your anchor meal.
It really sets the metabolic tone for the entire day.
Right. And the specific target they give is 30 grams of protein and at least 5 grams of fiber first thing in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
But let me play devil's advocate here for a second.
Sure.
30 grams of protein first thing in the morning. That is like eating 3 eggs and a serving of Greek yogurt all at once.
It's just a solid amount of food.
For someone who usually just grabs like a piece of toast and a coffee as they run out the door, that sounds incredibly heavy. Doesn't that just overload the digestive system when you just woke up?
I get that. It
Yeah.
might feel like a big shift initially,
Yeah.
but your digestive system is perfectly equipped to handle it, and the biological payoff is huge.
Okay, how so?
Well, here's the mechanism at play. Protein and fiber take a really long time to break down. When you eat a plain piece of toast, it digests instantly, flooding your bloodstream with glucose.
Right, the sugar spike.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Your body panics, releases a massive surge of insulin to clear the glucose, and then your blood sugar just crashes.
Yeah.
That spike and crash is inherently inflammatory.
Yeah.
But by front-loading 30 grams of protein and 5 grams of fiber, you are effectively putting a metabolic anchor down. It slows digestion, creating this really slow, steady release of energy.
Which stabilizes the insulin.
Right. It stabilizes your insulin for the rest of the day, actively reducing the inflammatory load on your joints before you've even made it to lunch.
Wow. But fixing breakfast only solves the first half of the day.
True.
You could still be accidentally throwing gasoline on the fire later on, which brings us to the daily micro decisions.
The sneaky triggers.
Yes. The things that are secretly causing that joint puffiness and morning stiffness. The sources point to the top sneaky triggers we really need to watch out for. First up is a total trap for the beige food lover.
Oh, yeah, the beige diet.
You know the one? Relying on refined carbohydrates, the white bread, the standard pasta, the crackers.
The main problem with beige foods is that they behave like pure sugar in the body. They spike your blood glucose rapidly and provide zero fiber to slow that absorption down. And as we just discussed, your perimenopausal body is already struggling with insulin sensitivity. So, a huge bowl of white pasta hits your system much harder than it did 10 years ago.
And it is rarely just one food causing the problem, right? The clinical guidelines call it the combo stack.
The combo stack is where the real danger lies.
Yeah.
Because it's the cumulative effect over a 12-hour window. It's a sweet pastry for breakfast, a deli meat sandwich for lunch, and then a big glass of wine at night.
Which sounds like a pretty normal day for a lot of people.
It does. Individually, you might think you're making moderate choices. But together, they create a sustained inflammatory environment. Your body never gets a chance to recover and clear the cytokines out of your joints. It's just constantly fighting fires.
Okay, let's break down some of those other triggers and give some smart, specific swaps.
Good idea.
The second major trigger is industrial seed oils, things like soybean oil and corn oil.
The biological issue here is an omega-6 overload. While the human body definitely needs some omega-6 fatty acids to function, the standard Western diet provides just massive quantities of it compared to omega-3s.
Right, it's way out of balance.
Exactly. When your cellular balance is heavily skewed toward omega-6, your body defaults to a pro-inflammatory state. It literally uses omega-6s as the building blocks for inflammatory chemicals.
So what's the swap?
The swap here is really simple. Use extra virgin olive oil. It is predominantly oleic acid, which has a well-documented anti-inflammatory profile that doesn't feed that inflammatory pathway at all.
Okay, third on the trigger list, liquid sugar.
Always a tough one.
Right. Think sweetened coffees, sodas, energy drinks. We know they cause insulin spikes, but how do we swap them without losing the morning ritual?
The swap is black coffee, but with a deliberate twist.
Okay, what's the twist?
Add a generous dash of cinnamon.
Cinnamon, just for the taste.
Not just for flavor.
Oh.
Cinnamon has genuine, documented anti-inflammatory properties
Yeah.
and has been shown to actually help regulate blood sugar.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so you are replacing a direct inflammatory trigger with a protective agent, all while avoiding the insulin spike that harms your joints.
That is such an easy swap. Okay, fourth trigger, processed meats. The deli turkey, the bacon, the salami.
Right, and these carry incredibly high sodium loads and artificial nitrates. When you consume high amounts of sodium, your blood volume increases, leading to water retention.
Which makes you puffy.
Exactly. This places direct pressure on your blood vessels and the delicate tissues surrounding your joints. If you are experiencing that tight, puffy feeling in your hands and feet when you wake up, it is often driven by this vascular inflammation, not just the hormones.
And the swap there.
Swap it out for baked chicken, hard-boiled eggs, or wild-caught salmon.
Nice and simple. Okay, the last of our top triggers really surprised me, and it's one people really do not want to hear.
I know exactly what you're going to say.
Excess alcohol.
It is arguably the most underrated inflammation trigger for perimenopausal women.
Why is that?
Well, alcohol fundamentally disrupts your sleep architecture. Specifically, it fragments your deep sleep.
And we need deep sleep to heal, right?
Crucially, deep sleep is the phase where your brain clears out toxins and your body releases growth hormone to actively repair damaged joint tissue. By drinking alcohol, you are chemically blocking your body's ability to heal itself overnight.
Wow, that's really harsh on the body.
It is. Plus, it is also the #1 dietary trigger for night sweats, which further ruins whatever sleep quality you had left.
So what's the swap for that evening glass of wine when you just really want to unwind?
Swap it for tart cherry juice mixed with sparkling water.
Tart cherry juice.
Yeah, tart cherry is fascinating because it contains natural precursors to melatonin. So instead of blocking deep sleep like alcohol does, it actively supports it.
Oh, that's brilliant.
Furthermore, the anthocyanins in tart cherries have been extensively studied in sports medicine for their ability to actively reduce muscle soreness and joint pain.
Okay, so removing those triggers stops the bleeding, so to speak. We've patched the holes in the boat.
Right.
But how do we actively heal the joints? What medicinal foods do we add to the diet to act as our new anti-inflammatory shield?
We need to bring in the heavy hitters now, and the best place to start is with omega-3 fatty acids.
Right. When I was reading the clinical guidelines, they used this acronym that really stuck with me to help identify the best sources. They called it SAMAH, S-M-A-S-H.
Yes, the same fish.
It stands for salmon, mackerel, anchovies, sardines, and halibut.
Those are the highest dietary sources of bioavailable omega-3s. They directly counter joint inflammation by competing with those inflammatory omega-6s we talked about earlier.
Oh, so they fight for the same spot.
Exactly. When your cells are built with omega-3s instead, they produce anti-inflammatory compounds that literally soothe the joint lining.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though. Let's talk about turmeric and black pepper.
A classic combination.
Right, we hear about turmeric all the time for joint pain because of its active compound curcumin.
Curcumin is incredibly well studied for arthritis and generalized joint inflammation. It is a potent natural medicine. But there is a massive biological catch.
Which is?
On its own, curcumin has very poor bioavailability. When you ingest curcumin alone, your liver basically views it as a foreign substance.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, the liver enzymes immediately tag the curcumin for disposal and flush it out of your body before it ever reaches your joints.
But the clinical literature highlights a totally simple hack for this. Adding black pepper increases the absorption of curcumin by up to 2,000%.
It's incredible.
2,000? I mean, how does a literal sprinkle of pepper do that?
Well, black pepper contains an active compound called piperine. When piperine hits your liver, it temporarily inhibits those specific disposal enzymes.
It blocks them.
It essentially distracts the liver guards, allowing the curcumin to safely pass through the intestinal wall, enter the bloodstream, and travel directly to the aching tissue. It's just a perfect example of biological food synergy.
Mind-blowing. Okay, we also need to talk about vitamin C and vitamin D.
They are non-negotiable for structural joint health. Vitamin C is crucial for collagen production.
And collagen isn't just for, like, wrinkles.
Not at all. Collagen isn't just a beauty supplement, it is the literal building block of your cartilage and tendons. Without vitamin C, your body simply cannot synthesize the repairs your shock absorbers need.
And what about vitamin D?
Vitamin D acts as the biological gatekeeper for calcium.
That part absolutely blew my mind in the research. Without enough vitamin D, your body might only absorb 10 to 15% of the calcium you eat.
Exactly.
You could be eating perfectly, doing everything right, but without vitamin D, the calcium just passes right through your digestive tract.
Yes. And since bone density naturally drops as your estrogen drops, maximizing your calcium absorption is vital to keeping the structural support around your knees and hips really strong.
Now, diving into these targeted dietary additions brings up a really debated topic across our source material: phytoestrogens.
Ah, yes.
These are things like soy, edamame, and red clover.
This raises an important question, and it's one where the medical community requires us to look past the marketing and think really critically.
Right.
Because phytoestrogens are plant compounds that look chemically similar to human estrogen. The prevailing theory in a lot of functional medicine is that they can bind to the estrogen receptors in your body and provide a mild estrogenic effect, basically helping to buffer the loss of your natural hormones.
Yeah, a lot of functional medicine blogs highly recommend them as a natural remedy for joint pain and hot flashes.
They do.
But then we have the scientific impact paper from the Royal College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists.
Right, and their rigorous analysis paints a much more complex picture. They reviewed 30 randomized controlled trials looking at various phytoestrogens.
And what did they find?
Well, when they specifically isolated trials using red clover extract, they found absolutely no overall difference in the frequency of menopausal symptoms compared to a placebo.
Wow. So in those really rigorous trials, they performed no better than a sugar pill.
Correct. And while a couple of smaller isolated trials showed a slight reduction in symptoms with dietary soy, the reviewers ultimately concluded there simply wasn't strong, consistent evidence that phytoestrogen treatments universally relieve menopausal symptoms.
Plus, there's the safety aspect, right? Because they do mimic estrogen to some degree, there are ongoing studies about their safety for women who have a history of hormone-sensitive conditions, like certain breast cancers.
Exactly. The takeaway here isn't that whole soy or legumes are dangerous. I mean, they are excellent high-fiber, high-protein components of a Mediterranean diet.
Right, they're good food.
They are. But we shouldn't view them as a guaranteed magic bullet cure for menopausal joint pain. They are part of a broader nutritional strategy. And honestly, if your symptoms are severe, you shouldn't rely solely on edamame. You should have a serious conversation with your doctor about actual medical therapies.
So what does this all mean? Let's bring all these medical guidelines and biological mechanisms together for you. You can't stop menopause. The hormonal shift is a completely natural biological process.
It's inevitable.
But you absolutely do not have to just sit there, watch your shock absorbers wear out, and ache in silence.
You have immense agency over the systemic inflammation in your body.
You do. By recognizing that this pain is driven by a loss of your natural anti-inflammatory shield, you can take action. You can start by tracking your symptoms to identify your personal triggers. You can focus on that anti-inflammatory Mediterranean framework to stop visceral fat from pumping out cytokines.
Hmm.
And you can conquer your morning with a 30-gram protein anchor meal to flatten your blood sugar curve.
And you can make those really smart daily swaps, trading the inflammatory combo stack for extra virgin olive oil, cinnamon, wild-caught salmon, and that deep sleep-promoting tart cherry juice. You can actively use curcumin and piperine as a biological tool to soothe the joints.
By doing all this, you are actively protecting your cartilage. You are giving your body the exact raw materials it needs to repair itself, turning down the volume on the inflammation and actually reclaiming your mobility.
Before we wrap up, though, there is one final, really provocative concept from the source text that I want to leave you to mull over.
Oh, I know which one you mean.
It perfectly connects everything we've talked about regarding diet, fiber, and your hormones.
I found this concept fascinating. How does the gut tie into all of this?
So we talked about how the Mediterranean diet is high in fiber, right?
Right.
Well, that fiber is the primary food source for your gut microbiome, the trillions of bacteria living in your digestive tract. What is truly incredible is that a specific subset of those gut bacteria, which scientists now call the estrobolome, is entirely responsible for processing your estrogen.
Wait, so the bacteria in your digestive system actually dictate what happens to your estrogen levels?
Yes.
How does that even work mechanically?
Here is the simplified breakdown. When your body is done using a molecule of estrogen, your liver packages it up and sends it to your gut to be excreted as waste.
Okay, that makes sense.
But the bacteria in your estrobolome produce a specific enzyme. And this enzyme has the ability to essentially unpack that discarded estrogen and send it right back into your bloodstream.
Wait, really? So the bacteria are recycling the hormone?
Yes, your gut bacteria literally dictate how much of the estrogen in your system is reabsorbed and utilized by the body versus how much is permanently excreted.
Wow.
And when you eat a high-fiber diet, you feed the healthy bacteria, and this recycling process stays perfectly balanced. But if your diet lacks fiber, the estrobolome becomes compromised, and your body might excrete too much estrogen, worsening your joint pain.
That is wild. Your digestion is directly controlling your hormone levels.
It is a profound biological connection, and it raises an incredible question for the future of medicine.
Which is?
Given that our gut bacteria act as a control valve for estrogen, could the future of treating menopausal joint pain lie not in traditional pain medications or even standard hormone patches, but in highly personalized, prescription-grade gut bacteria therapies?
Bug therapy for joint pain. By fixing the gut microbiome, you optimize whatever estrogen your body is naturally producing, letting those bacteria recycle the hormones to protect your joints. That is a brilliant thought to end on.
It really changes how you look at fiber, doesn't it?
It sure does. Well, thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. Remember, you might have lost those hormonal shock absorbers, but with the right fuel and an understanding of your body's biological mechanisms, you can absolutely build an external shield and get back to gliding over those bumps in the road. Stay curious, and we'll see you next time.